Welcome back, everyone, to our latest video game book club, part 2 of Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. A lot of stuff happened in this one, too, so, Christian, I'm just going to pass it off to you. Yep.
Let's do it. All right, so I'm gonna try to, I'm not gonna, skip over a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to, for these mission briefing sequences, there is not a lot of use in doing line by line, right? Because some of it's just I can just paraphrase some of it. So for the bigger cutscenes, I'll obviously still do the full message of what they're trying to say, but for this part, for mission briefings, we're just gonna just go through it. So this one does open with Sonny singing another song of numbers, different this time though. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start. There's always a thing with all of them, so I'm just going to say what she's doing here, and then I
was going to ask if you guys have kept up with them, because I have not been able to keep up.
So there's not a thing to really keep up with, right? So it's more so about Sonny's character and where she was, and we're going to get there through this. But so in the first one, obviously when she was making the single she's cooking, that is just pie. So that sequence that she's doing is just pi, and she misses one of the digits or whatever that is I guess the most commonly skipped digit by children of pi, where they always forget it. Kojima, at least I believe, seems to think so, and so he's she's a child, she would miss this digit because children usually miss this digit. Whatever, I don't know.
What a great attention to detail.
Over attention
that people say about Kojima all the time. Mm-hmm. The second one here is around the Fibonacci sequence is what she's doing here. So that is that one. The next mission briefing that we're going to get into, there will be another one. It will be different, and I'll call it out there too. But this is actually, so Preston, I'll be interested to see if you picked up on this, because I did have to explain this one to Alex, because he obviously played further. He played through this part the last playthrough, so this is part of this here.
I'll tell you why I did, and I realized it again going back, because my emulator was not giving me the pause here until after I was getting into the cutscenes and then going.
Sure.
Right? Okay. But this, now that I'm playing, I am getting the, do you want to save here and move on? I realize it is before the mission briefing, so this time, I did not go too far.
So obviously, we have that little scene of Sonny cooking these 2 eggs. There's a picture on the wall from a character from Metal Gear Solid 2, one Miss Olga Gorlokovich. Mm-hmm. And this is actually supposed to signal to you, but this is Olga's child. So Sonny is Olga's kid that was captured by the Patriots. Mm-hmm. That, if we remember at the end, Raiden was looking for her. Snake told him, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna we're on it. We're gonna find her. Don't you worry about it." Blah blah blah. So that is sort of a little thing there where you're oh shit, holy fuck! They actually went and did find the kid. So Sonny's coming down the stairs here. She hands Otacon some eggs. She's calling him Uncle Hal for, so there's that. And she sets the eggs down. Snake wakes up and he regains consciousness from the last part here. And the first thing he says is that he doesn't remember the sun being so flat because Sonny burned the shit out of the eggs. And hurts her feelings. She's very hurt.
He was very mean to her about
for no
the fucking
reason.
eggs.
And Otacon sort of shushes him, and then they move. But he asks, how long was he out? And he says the whole day. And Snake was yes, I don't know, somebody saved my life. And then Otacon is it could have been Meryl and her boys probably, not sure, but we know, we know you got dropped off. And he was by the way, don't worry, they're doing fine. Sonny goes to walk back upstairs at this point, and because Otacon mentions to go make some more eggs, and Snake just grabs the cigarette off the plate that she brought down and is don't worry about that, I got what I need, I don't need none of that. But then so Snake gets some flashbacks here. He remembers that Liquid got away, and Snake starts to cough really badly, and like you start to see like you hear like the little mind sound that's happening where he's like, oh shit, you know. And we get a flashback from from that last sequence at Liquid's camp, and Snake remembers that Naomi was there, and Otacon was like, Snake asked if Otacon saw her, and he was like, I didn't, but I know that she was there because the syringe that you were holding on to, I know had traces of her DNA on it. And so Otacon starts to show him some more stuff, and they're going over some stuff. Sunny comes back down, and she has more. She has the second set of eggs for Snake that she made, and Otacon goes, "Thank you. You know they're so delicious," and she's like, "Yeah, but you haven't even eaten yours yet," and he's like, "Oh." Yeah, you're right. Oof. And then it's like, no, yeah, let me. I'm gonna dig right in. Blah blah blah. And Sonny like makes a quip over at Snake for not watching his like. He's like, I'm trying to watch my us adults have to watch our caloric intake, so you know I don't think I'm gonna have any. And she's like, well, you're not watching your nicotine intake, and then just like starts stomping up the stairs. So from here, mostly. Where Otacon is going through some of the data that he found from Naomi, and when he is talking about it, at first, all she sent was the old map screen from Metal Gear Solid 1 with Shadow Moses. And he's like, it looks just like a Soliton radar, basically like screenshot, but she hid 4D audio data inside it, and he was like, you know, Sonny and I decrypted it and got it to work, but it's basically she hid a video message inside a picture, and you know, basically she's like, you have to rescue me. Liquid's found a loophole that he can get into the system, and it's going to, you know, fuck everything up. Like, you need to rescue me so that we can work on this. And she sent her location data and all of this. Now, what I wanted to say here was, during this whole process of them describing, like, you know, this next part of this mission and everything like that, there is some other things that you can do during this discussion. So while everybody's talking, did anybody press any buttons and see any of the different things that you can do here?
I saw. I mean, like, it would change the camera. I could see Sunny like hanging on something at one point.
So she's like playing. There's also a section where she'll go and open up like a little drawer and then bust out a PSP and start playing on a PSP.
Oh, I didn't see the PSP one, but I saw her like playing around.
You also can take control of the Metal Gear Mark II.
I did not do that. I did not get that.
Yeah, so you can take control of the Metal Gear Mark II and roll around the compartment here in the plane, and you can get an extra battery for your Snake Eye. You can find, I think there's like some ammo and stuff. It'll happen for each one of these, but you can roll around, find some stuff, and then go back to the cutscene. So, and while you're doing this whole thing, your stats about your playthrough are scrolling across like a ticker down here at the bottom.
And I told you this when we talked the other day because I didn't want to give it away for Preston. That took me out of it a little bit. The weird stats and stuff. Like, I don't know. It was no. All right. Oh.
So, because you can't go full screen, right? So you can get rid of them. It's just on that little like that main view there. I don't feel one way about it the other. I think because all of these games have always been meant to be like you play through them multiple times, right? Different difficulties, doing little challenge things, X, Y, or Z. And then getting all the different ratings that you can get throughout all these games. It makes sense because it was always tracking this stuff. You just usually got it at the end of the game when it would be like, here's how many kills, here's how many drinks, here's this, how many times you got saw, like all that stuff, right? So them showing it through here doesn't really bother me, especially because there's so much that you can do in this mission briefing thing. Like you can change even the priority. Like you can move the camera that is up on the second deck, like with Sunny or looking on the other parts of the ship, and make that the main screen, and then have the cutscene that's happening be the smaller video in the corner. Like, it's so weird. the amount of things that they let you do here. But yeah, so those, I just wanted to mention that those are things that are happening in the background that you can look for during the next one. But like I said, so they're getting Otacon and everybody and Snake are trying to get ready for this next phase of this plan, and we get a call from Campbell, and Campbell is basically going through, and Otacon is playing the video for them, or for him. He's getting everything, and he's like, "Yes, Snake, like we're gonna need you to go and rescue her and find her. Like that's gonna be this next part of this mission." And in the middle of this, Snake asks the Colonel where Meryl is at, and he's like, "I know that she left the Middle East and is still looking for Liquid, but they haven't been able to track him down yet, which means that Naomi is our only option. You have to find her and get this figured out." And right when he goes to say that, we hear somebody say Campbell's name in the background. So it's just a woman who says Roy. And right when that happens, she kind of like blows by the camera really quick and then comes back around and like hands him some dinner. And who... Did you guys immediately recognize this character or no? Okay.
Not till later.
Okay.
But what I did notice is that he's sitting awfully pretty in that fucking place he's at. I don't know if his office or if his house, but as soon as I saw how fancy his place was, like,
yes to both.
I don't only trust him so much anyways because he lied to us in the first game. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't know how much I trust you in this game either. So you're sitting awfully pretty in this war economy. Like, I don't know, man.
I assumed it was his house. Like, yeah.
It seems like,
pretty well for himself.
we get to it later, but they kind of go over the status of basically everybody who was involved in the Shadow Moses incident. And Roy Campbell is the only one who does not seem like that went negatively for him. Everybody else had something happen, but not him. But yeah, so then... So just for those, I recognize this because I remembered the voice when it was going through, but this was Rose in the background here. So Raiden's...
I figured out later in this playthrough.
Thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We do, because it happens right here at the beginning of this neck, like when they lay down. But, yeah, so they change their destination to where, like, the location file that Naomi gave them, and they... get ready, and they basically are like, "Hey, we got 20 hours to land." And Snake is like, "I'll go over all the documents," and he's like, "Maybe I can even sneak in a smoke." And then everybody on the plane kind of just looks at him like, "All right." And then it fades to black, and then we get an intro to this mission. I remember that this was used, I believe, as one of the trailers, like before the game actually launched. And I think you guys, I don't know how you guys feel about it. The intro to this mission screams like trailer to me. Like,
Yeah.
So,
by the way, don't go look at the trailer. There's a whole bunch of shit that might spoil you on that fucking game.
Yes,
I saw the trailer
that.
just like looking up for some of that stuff. I'm like,
Interesting.
there's a whole lot of shit I probably shouldn't be seeing right now.
Yeah. The nice thing is that so much of it probably, you're like, I don't know what
Probably
the
not
fuck
even
that
a game.
means.
Who
until you
knows?
get it,
Like, yeah.
Yeah. But, so... There is a moment here, so it's it's like panning over the forest, and there's like a little guinea pig running, and the snake or whatever slithering around, and then we start to see Snake do his like sneaking crawl thing, like he's going through, and the camo's all on him, and he's like, Colonel, how deeply are they involved in all this? And then Campbell asks if he's talking about the Patriots, and Snake is like, the data we got from Arsenal Gear was a load of crap. 12 founders who have all been dead for 100 years. Give me a break. We know they exist today. If the purpose of this battlefield control system is to control IDs, it fits with their plan perfectly. And then Campbell is seizing control of the world's ID systems and then using them to manipulate the economy and information flow. For the Patriots, that's the ultimate prize. You might say the Patriots are the embodiment of the war economy. So then Snake goes, everything that Solid has feared 5 years ago has all come to pass. Now, we start to get a flashback here, but that whole section, I feel like I remember being in a trailer somewhere, but it is like, I think that actually, this little opening to the message and like talking about the and doing all these things and then being like, everything that Solid has feared 5 years ago has come to pass. I think is actually like a really solid opening to a mission, and I think I like it better than the opening for the first mission.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so it flashes back and it's just cutting into like some of the clip. If you mashed the flashback thing, it's just lines from Solidus from the second game where he's basically speaking about the same thing that we've heard before. And so then Campbell responds saying, like, now with the media and the global opinion under complete control, not even the UN can stand up to them. So Snake was like, so then Liquid's insurrection it has to be against the Patriots. And Campbell goes, exactly. It would seem as though Liquid has taken up Big Boss's cause, an age of persistent universal warfare, a world where mercenaries are free from domination. In a sense, the outer heaven that Big Boss envisioned is already a living reality. Not great, by the way. It's also funny in this section where they're talking about Big Boss's like ultimate vision. Now, obviously, there's some games that we did not play through the handheld stuff that was just, I think it gives extra clarity where it's not technically like needed. But it is funny after playing Snake Eater where you watch an idealistic version of Big Boss who starts out hopeful doing these things and then because of all of the things that happen ends and is like, oh, fuck this, and you actually just watch that whole journey, you know what I mean? Which is it's funny to see that sort of realized in this moment still here. But then, Campbell's like, right now Liquid is a slave to the Patriots, forced to fight their proxy wars for them. Snake's like, he must be dying to break free of their spell. And then Campbell's like, beneath the surface, a new Cold War is brewing between Liquid and the Patriots over which one will survive. And Snake's like, no matter who wins, the world has no future. Until we stop Liquid and destroy the system, we'll never be free. So then Campbell goes, Snake, what we call peace is an equilibrium kept in check by the war economy. Destroying the system means wiping out the information society, the end of modern civilization. Like it or not, we may have no choice but to protract the system. And Snake sort of like just is like he doesn't fight him, but he's not like agreeing with it. He's just done, and he just moves over to Otacon in this section. Like he kind of just like brushes it off and goes over to Otacon in this. And Otacon calls, and he goes over the layout for the village, and it's basically like, look, here's where Naomi is at. This is where we need to be heading. And it's like all of these PMC troops, because of the altitude that they're at, you're gonna note like they have a little bit more health. He's basically just saying they're gonna be a little bit more stronger than the guys you fought in Act 1, more or less. And they give us the same warning they had in the beginning, which is just like, hey, be aware that you're not here trying to help any of these people, but sometimes if you do one thing or the other, it might make it easier for you to sneak in. So think about that. I've found, I don't know, I've never done it a different way, but I feel like exclusively helping the rebels every time is the right option than helping the PMCs. I don't know like what you would gain from doing that, but I don't remember. So maybe there is some section of this game where that works.
Helping out the PMCs would allow you to get in there as a friendly and not have to deal with them inside. I don't know.
I don't think so because they're all always on you no matter like like you are a public enemy number one for them. So if you take out all of the rebel soldiers, I don't think that the PMCs would just be waiting for you there and go, hey, fuck you, and they'd shoot at you. So I don't know. Yeah. Yes. But so we make our way through some of the fighting here. You can do, however you want to do it. You can either trank everybody, you can shoot everybody, you can, all the same normal stuff.
I still continue to trank everybody, and then of course released the rebels into the camp.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's what I always do. I've just every time I played this game, the one other time I played this game, I have just helped the rebels because it was just like, causing that distraction makes it so that I can just waltz my way through and nobody really says anything. And we make our way up to the midpoint of the little mountain path, and we come up to another cutscene here with a village of there's like a truck that is coming through, and we see someone sort of come off of it, and they like grab one of these little rebel soldiers that tries to like run away, and it is the octopus lady. And then from the side, one of the little like the bridge on on the truck comes down, and who else but
Your favorite.
my favorite villain and yours, Vamp, comes down, and he's looking definitely like a jobber villain from Underworld or one of the Blade movies.
I told Christian as soon as I saw that, in my head was just his voice going, boo! Like,
Yes. Yeah. He definitely has a little bit of a Rob Zombie vibe going on in this game, I think.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, little Dracula action. But yeah, so he's here. Snake immediately is pissed. Is like Vamp, and he gets flashbacks from Metal Gear Solid 2, obviously. And Vamp sort of gives the command to the octopus lady to just start smoking everybody. She's like, yeah, go ahead and start killing them. So she does. She just starts executing every single one of them, and she is actually mimicking Snake's face in this section. And then Vamp she starts going crazy and is getting ready to like rip the last one in half, basically. She also, like, I should say, like, kind of passing over, but she like murders the fuck out of them. Like, one just gets a hole punched through his chest, like all the other crazy shit. But she's getting ready to, like, just totally destroy the last one, and Vamp like tries to tell her to calm down. She's not listening, so he throws one of his knives at the arm, and he's like, "You have to leave one alive." So then she spins around and tells him to not forget this face while she's wearing Snake's face as a camo, and then said, "This is the face of the bastard who killed your comrade." And then they peace out. The regular soldiers are still there standing guard, and she just is like laughing her whole way up the mountain on the back of the truck. And Snake calls Otacon from this and is like, "Otacon, what the hell?" And then Otacon's like, "That was Vamp, I'm sure of it. I'll never forget that face." And Snake is like, "Those were PMC soldiers with him. Is he involved in Liquid's plan?" Otacon's like, "We watched him die in Manhattan. Damn it, he won't leave us alone. Snake, could Vamp be immortal?" And Snake's like, "Not a chance. This is the real world, not some fantasy game." I love when Kojima does this.
I mean, he does the same thing in other places where he was like, to access it, press the start menu on your blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm playing a video game. Thank you.
Yep. And so then Otacon starts to get mad, and Snake just basically is like, "Shut up, dude. You know you're not going to do anything, so just, like, let's focus." And so they start talking about... So Snake's like, or Otacon goes, "According to satellite imagery procured by Mei Ling, the facility where Naomi is being held is to the north along the mountain road. I'm sending the location to your map." And Snake is like, "Oh, damn. Mei Ling, what's going on?" And Otacon's like, "She's apparently taking command of the Missouri." And then Snake's like, "That's a World War II battleship." And then Otacon's like, "The museum contract in Hawaii expired some time ago, but I hear they're using it now as a virtual training vessel." He's like, "Not for actual combat training, of course, but rather to get sailors used to seamanship on an analog vessel. After the mess at Shadow Moses, Mei Ling kind of got put out to pasture." And then Snake is like, "Well, even so, making captain at her age, that's pretty impressive." And Otacon goes, "Rumor has it she caught the eye of some lecherous old admiral who got her promoted." And Snake goes, "Maybe it's too early to retire after all." And then Otacon is like, "It's Preston." And then and then Otacon's like, "Are you thinking about taking a little bit of a training exercise?" Snake, of course, like, no, I'm not in need of more training. I'm okay on that. So yeah, but this is what we were talking about earlier, right? So, based on some of the stuff they were talking about during the mission briefing, and then here it's just like everybody but Roy Campbell got screwed over during that incident, right?
So, like, too pretty for me, in my mind.
Yeah, hey, that's fair. But yeah, like, Snake obviously is still branded as a war criminal. He's just doing all of this stuff on the side. Same thing with Otacon. Meryl obviously was basically shunned and didn't have anything, and the only reason that she's in the position she's in now is because Campbell pulled some strings, and then obviously we just found out about Mei Ling there. So that's more or less outside of Naomi, who we'll get to in a little while here, but that's basically everybody that was involved in Metal Gear Solid 1, and they all got the short end of the stick, but our boy Roy Campbell. But yeah, so then Snake is like, basically, he's like, by the way, that freak that I just saw with the tentacles was using the same Octo-Camo system as my suit.
Also, I love this part. It just shows that this character is such a fraud.
Yeah. So Otacon's like, yeah, and then Snake's like, and you can see him actually glare on the codec screen, but he's like, I thought that technology was of your own design. And Otacon was like, actually, I kind of based it on some design Sonny and I snagged off the net. And Snake's like, and that data came from? And then Otacon's like, DARPA.
DARPA.
But there's a tone there, like he's like he got caught, you know? So he's like,
yeah,
DARPA. And then Snake is like, so in other words, we're on equal ground as far as technology. Like, I don't have an advantage at all on these fucking people.
Yeah, because they're not wearing a version of what you have. You're wearing their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Otacon's like, sorry, I guess I should have told you. And so he's like, and by the looks of things, they know that I'm coming. And Otacon's like, yeah, it could be a trap, so stay sharp. And from there, right, we make our way through that next part of the village. Right before the transition, Campbell calls us and he's like, hey, there's somebody I'd like you to meet. A member of the mission staff, a psychological counselor. And that is where we get introduced to Rosemary for the second time. And so she's basically playing the same role that she was playing in Metal Gear Solid 2, except for Raiden. She's doing it for Snake. And you can get some extra things here and there. I will tell you guys, every so often, you can just use the codec and just call and just get little extra lore pieces. But for the most part, there's nothing really too crazy there. There will usually be... Huh?
I don't care to talk to her anyways. I wasn't a big fan of her in
Sure.
2. I'm not going to sit there and just call her up to get some extra lore from her. I'm like, no, fuck her. I don't want to talk to her.
Honestly, dude, she's kind of a tragic character.
I know, Preston's like, you two-timing bitch.
But she's also kind of like a tragic character when you get, I think it might be later on in the playthrough, or it might have been this part, where she starts talking about, it had to be later, where she starts talking about Raiden and how, they tried to make it later. Yep. They tried to make it work and all this. They just couldn't. He could never leave the battlefield. And he never. It's just she's like, what do you want me to do? He was never the same. What do you want me to do?
So there's something there. I actually do, and that ties more into the reveal there. But yeah, So yeah, but she basically she's just doing that same thing, right? So then this is the conversation that I love, where Snake immediately calls Campbell back after that. Snake is very cordial he's like, yeah, hey, cool, thanks. I'll call you if I need you.
Cool, yeah.
And I'll let you know, because to be fair, part of it is they basically do say, Snake, you're being held together with sheer force of will at this point. So, if you need somebody to talk you down, let me know. I'll talk to you. But he calls Campbell back immediately. And Snake goes, by the way, Colonel, is she in your house? And Campbell goes, well, yes. And he goes, so then the woman that you married, the one that Meryl was talking about, and Campbell's like, is Rosemary? Yes. Didn't I tell you before? And Snake's like, yeah, that's news to me. What about Jack? And Campbell goes, Jack? Who the fuck is that? And Snake goes, Jack from Foxhound, codename Raiden. I seem to remember him being engaged to Rose. And Campbell's like, oh, we lost all trace of him. And Snake's like, Jack's gone? He was like, I used to work with him. He saved Sonny from the Patriots. So some extra things there. So we know that he saved Sonny, and that's where he put him... Raiden put Sonny in our care between Snake and Otacon, right? And Campbell's like, yeah, right after that, he disappeared. And so Snake's like, so what about you? Jack disappeared and you just moved in on Rose? And Campbell goes, I was consoling her over her loss, and then one thing just led to another. And Snake's like, she's young enough to be your daughter. And then Campbell goes, yeah, lucky me, huh? And Snake goes, now I see why Meryl was so disgusted. And Campbell goes, Meryl said something about me, like, you know, kind of thing. And Snake's like, oh, yeah. Yep, I believe her words were, I'll never forgive that womanizing piece of shit. And Campbell's like, I guess I had that one coming. And Snake's like, Colonel, you knew she was our informant in the Middle East, didn't you? Wasn't it you who put her up to it? And he's like, yes, I used my connections in the Army to get Meryl the job. And he goes, Snake's like, no, you wanted your daughter someplace where you could keep an eye on her. Campbell goes, look, everybody in the incident at Shadow Moses either lost their job and status, or in the case of Meryl and Mei Ling, got brushed aside. Meryl wanted to make a comeback and a difference, and we all can't be as strong as you, Snake. Some of us can't bear living as like pariahs. And then Snake's like, yeah, well, you know, since Shadow Moses, I've been branded as a criminal. And Campbell's like, I think of it as my own small way of making it up to my daughter, my own flesh and blood. In any case, call Rosemary if you ever need advice, and then hangs up on us. I loved this section because it's Snake just basically telling Campbell, like, yo, what? Like, I didn't want to believe what I was hearing, like, because I, you know, like, you and I were cool. You suck, though. Mm-hmm. Like, you should know that you suck.
It is bad dad.
Well, it's also one of those things, too, like, the military, supposedly, is, like, this above board, like, they're very regimented, they follow the rules and so on. So now it's like, how do I trust this guy who's trying to command me and tell me what to do and like feed me information when he can't do the simple things, and like he's kind of betraying like the, you know, people, his subordinates and other stuff. It's hard
and this feels awfully like a little bit of the journey that the person whose Snake is based off of, right? Like some of those same, like exactly the thing you're talking about, Alex. The same revelations that Big Boss was coming to at the end of Snake Eater. Snake's like, you can kind of see it, like, clicking in where he's like, what the fuck? You know, like, all this. So I really appreciated that scene. But yeah, so we continue fighting, make our way through, and as we get up closer to the top of the mountain, we get another codec call, but this time it is from just 3 question marks. And Snake's like, who is this? And it just says somebody who says Snake, but it's a voice that I think all of us immediately probably recognized. Especially because Preston did not like his voice for a very long time. And Snake recognizes it as like that voice, and the character's like, there's an ambush up ahead, government and PMC troops, you can be shot from anywhere, watch your surroundings, look to the distance. And Snake goes, is this Jack? And then the person goes, Jack is dead, Snake, I'm at your side. And Snake goes, wait, and then it gets hung up on. Now, this, I think, for going forward, I'm just going to say that that's obviously, you know, very clearly Raiden, in whatever his new form is. And I thought this was really cool back in the day, where there's definitely obviously it's the same voice actor, but there's definitely a tonal change.
Yeah.
Where it's almost mimicking like Gray Fox. Like, you know, like you know what I mean? Like there's like the same way that we used to get calls from him, that's how the tone is coming off. So I was very excited to be like, what's happening?
What's cool about that too is like, in listening to David Hayter in that interview I was talking about from last week, he was talking about how he did the voices for old Snake and all this, and like he's not that old, right?
No.
But in this game, Snake sounds a little bit, I hate to do this, but it sounds a little bit like RFK with like the weird rumble and the gravel in his voice. And he's talking about
he's
like
about the same age.
Yeah, he's like how he chose those voices for their different ages and going between scenes and other stuff. So I could see somebody like that who's been in the series forever, you know, working with the other actors and like, hey, you're a little bit older now, you're a little bit different, like this has changed, and that carrying through the game, right? So I could see that tonal shift coming with other characters. It's really well done.
Yeah, for sure. So as we make our way through this next set of fighting, we go through like this. It's like a giant sort of battle that was between the rebels and the PMC troops here, and we make our way through this like. If you help the rebels here, they'll blow up the little power station that the troops are at, and you make your way out of there. And when you do, you start heading towards the road to like continue your way up, and we are met with our old pal Drebin. And Drebin shows up, and Snake is like, you. And because he is under the impression still that Drebin is the reason that he might have gotten injected with something that fucked something up or anything like that.
Yep.
And Drebin's like, "Come on, man, hop in. It's getting rough out there." And he starts walking into the APC, and the monkey is like following him. And he goes to pick up the monkey has the cigarette that Snake dropped like as it went by, and the monkey's like, and Drebin goes, "No, you are not bringing that in here. Do not do that." And Snake is like, "You've been following me." And Drebin's like, "You seem like an interesting guy, so I decided to check you out. Sit down. Lots of legends about you out there in the intel community, especially in the and especially in the C. And before this, he's like, everybody like they sit down in their seats. He's like, especially in the CIA. Those nanomachines I ejected with you back in the Middle East. They let me track your location. And when this happens, Snake and Drebin both know, like they look overhead because a bunch of jets fly over, as well as a person with wings. And Drebin's like, "Figures, the B&Bs are here. Things are about to get hairy." And so Snake goes, "The B&Bs," and then Snake's like, "You've never heard of them? They're Beauty and the Beast. Together, they're called the B&B Corps. They're a squad of enhanced female soldiers belonging to the PMCs. Anytime there's a mess that needs cleaning up, they're on the scene, leading all of the elite soldiers." And he's like, "They're probably freelancers hired by the PMCs. They're run out of a separate parent organization. Guess it's time for good old Drebin to let you in on a few things." And this is where he starts to break down basically all of the some of their orders, like the B&B Corps, their orders while he's been here. So he's basically just like, they have orders to kill. Like, they've, ever since you've shown up, Liquid has said that you're priority number one. They need to kill you when they get the chance. Snake kind of is like, "Oh, like that's tough." Drebin's like, "But hey, man, that's just the bad news. So there's still good news." He starts to give us some lore basically on them. Basically, the B&B are like sort of similar. They have a similar, let's say, like background to Raiden, right? So they were partially either in the right and like child soldiers, prisoners of war, like all these things, and then they were like completely fucked up from whatever events happened to them, and they basically the only way that they could cope was just to become just like murder machines, and are just constantly injected and fed with nanomachines from the system to keep all of that stuff sort of in check. And they're basically told.
Can I say this here too? And we'll get more into it here in a little bit. I think that was about as much background as we needed for these people, and what we get in the later cutscene completely ruined some of that for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he goes into that, and then he's basically just like, they've been told that if by killing you, they will have their minds free. Like, they will go back to normal. They won't be subject to all of these issues that they've been having and all of this crazy shit. And Drebin's like, there's 4 of them that we've identified so far, and he goes through all of them. So there's Raging Raven, Laughing Octopus, Crying Wolf, and then Screaming Mantis. Those are our 4 here. And Snake.
So we're gonna have so we have the laughing one. We've heard her. We've heard the Raging Raven, who just flies around and yells a rage, right? Correct. Crying Wolf, I assume, is just gonna cry in a weird.
You kind of heard it in that one cutscene when all 4 of them showed up, but she's like,
Preston is.
I didn't
kind of shit. Yeah.
Okay, and what was the 4th one?
Screaming Mantis.
Oh, okay.
And you heard her scream. So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Snake goes Mantis ? And then immediately gets a flashback to Psycho Mantis from the first game. And Drebin's like, yeah, there used to be a guy by that name in the U.S. military, a Russian psychic. He could control people's minds. I guess she inherited the title. She keeps all of the other B&B's minds in check with her powers. And he then says, like, so it shows all 4 of them on the screen. And Drebin's like, their title, like, in Liquid's armies that they're called the Snake Hound Unit. And he goes, I would hate to be in your shoes. And Snake's like, dude, like, just come on. And so then Snake just ends up asking him straight up. He's like, by the way, like, I thought no one was supposed to be able to hack into the system, so are you with the Patriots? And Drebin goes, no, sir. Now, Alex, I'm sure you appreciated this part because it definitely played into one of the things that you were thinking of before, where he goes, no, sir, I ain't no lolly lulay. And he stops and he goes, I mean, I'm no patriot. Mm-hmm. And Snake's like, well, you can say patriot, so that means you're clean. And I was like, I know. Alex was like, I fucking knew it, like right when that happened. So then Drebin's like, yeah, the nanomachines I have in me are different from the military kind, so there's no speech restrictions for me. And Snake's like, what the hell are these Patriots? Like, are they even human? And Drebin just straight up says, he's like, not anymore. Nope. And he was like, they're the whole fabric of everything that's been built here. They're holding everything together, and they're the whole thing. And he's getting flashbacks of the AI from the Big Shell incident from the second game, right?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the Colonel, right? Like, it's showing the Colonel AI, where it's like, we are formless. We are the very discipline and law that the Americans invoke so often. And Drebin's like, the Patriots are America, the world's greatest military power. They are the war economy, which makes you and me just cogs in a much grander schematic. I mean, somebody obviously had to start the whole thing in the beginning, but now their law has taken on a life of its own. And he's like, the country, the war economy, it isn't run by people. It's run by the system. No need for high-level decision-making authority. It's all handled by a massive yet simple information processing system, a giant AI, and it just works like natural law. The world is a much simpler place than most people realize. And it cuts back to, again, a flashback from Metal Gear Solid 2 showing the SOP system that, Solidus was talking about and all the other stuff. And Drebin's like, every aspect of the Patriot system is closely monitored by 3 peripheral AIs and then a core AI that ties them all together. And the SOP system is part of that. It's all backed up by a foolproof control system, so not even yours truly can sneak inside the Patriot's AI. And Snake's like, what if, hypothetically, somebody found a way? And Drebin was like, if they could fool the IDS, the Intrusion Detection System, which is an actual cybersecurity term, so it's just funny that fucking Kojima used it. He's like, I guess they could use it as a haven to lay low. Obviously, that word, Snake's like, just like Metal Gear, where he's like, Metal Gear, haven doesn't say, he's like, haven. But then he's like, like a tax haven, and then he just explains the concept of a haven. I'm not going to go through that. We know what a haven is. But then he goes, either way, though, it's absolutely impossible. There's no chance in hell. Like I said, there's no breaking the AIs from the outside. You would have to be on the inside. And Snake's like, but Liquid's got something in mind, so you're sure there's no way. And he's like, man, I'm just a gun launderer. Like, the only reason I'm interested in you is because you are causing a lot of noise and making me a bunch of money. But, like, I don't fucking... If somebody was going to know, it's not
I'm number
me.
893 out of at least 1,000. I am low man on this totem pole.
Yeah. And then he's like, but, you just give me a ring if you let me know. And he does this little I have you thing, and then we're out. And we get, as we make our way up to the next facility here, on the confinement facility where Naomi is at, Snake we get another call from Raiden. And he's like, can you hear me? And Snake's like, this is Jack, isn't it? And then Raiden's like, I am Raiden, Jack is no more. And he goes, where are you right now? And he's like, I'm right beside you. And Snake's like, Raiden, where have you been all this time? What have you been doing? And Raiden is like, I'm on a mission finding something for someone. And Snake's like, finding what? And Raiden just is straight up like, the corpse of Big Boss. And Snake is like, what? And he's like, I was asked to do this in exchange for Sonny's location. So Snake was like, are you doing this for Liquid? And he's like, no, the leader of a small resistance group. Her followers call her Matka Pluku, which translates to Big Mama. So I'm interested in this point. I'm just going to pause really quick here while we keep going this. Do you guys have any ideas of who you think this might be?
No.
That's fine.
You'd be like,
I was just
who
wondering.
Big Mama could be?
Right.
No.
Some leader,
No.
I would assume, but we'll find out.
The only
Well,
Big
yes.
Mama I know is Big Mama's house, and that's it.
It's
So,
not Martin Lawrence.
It's not her. I'll just spoil it. It's not Martin Lawrence. I'll just spoil that. Yeah. But yeah, so there's more explosions in the background that you can hear, and Raiden's like, "We'll finish this later. I'll follow your trail and catch up with you." Snake's like, "Wait, what about Big Boss's body?" And Raiden's like, "It's with her now." And Snake's like, "Her?" And then it comes to an end. And Snake just calls Rosemary straight up and is like, "Hey, just want to let you know I got a call from Raiden." And she's like, "Did he seem okay?" And he's like, "I mean, as far as I could tell, it was him. He seemed fine." And she's like, "Well, that's great. I have a favor to ask." And he's like, "What is it?" And she's like, Don't let him know I'm involved in this operation. I think it would be best just to leave him alone for now." Snake's like, "What happened between you and Jack?" And Alex, this is the point where you talked about where she goes, after the Big Shell incident, he became unstable. Memories began to resurface from his childhood when he fought for Solidus in the Liberian Civil War. And in the midst of all that, the baby we had together, it hadn't even been born yet, and Jack slowly just stopped coming home. And when he did, he'd be drunk or covered in cuts and bruises from getting in, all these fights. And Roy was worried, and he was Jamak's commanding officer, but Jack just avoided him. She goes, "I was all alone, and Roy was so kind to me. He was the only one who encouraged me to become a counselor. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I just needed to get over it and to move on with my life. I'm worried about him, but I'm also, I can't, there's nothing I can do about it." Basically what Alex said, what did you want me to do? And Snake's like, "All right, well, I'll keep my mouth shut." And from there we go in and deal with the attack through this entire thing. Preston, I saw you shake your head there. Did you have other things that you wanted to say to Rose in that scenario?
No.
Oh, I thought you were like, yeah, whatever, loser.
I don't think that Rose. I don't like the turn of her getting with the what's his name, Roy and all that.
Roy.
That's not the good term, but she is what happened between her and Jack makes her a tragic character.
Yes.
Right. I'm not. That's not writing off what she's done now
She
and
tried
who
to
she's
have a
with or anything like that.
but he couldn't handle it mentally.
And honestly, there's going to be most of that's going to be on Roy taking advantage of situational dynamics and other stuff, right? So it's not on her, but she's a bit of a tragic character.
Yeah. But yeah, so we go through this whole section here. So we're fighting, going through the confinement facility where Naomi is being held, right? So there's different things that you have to do here. You're just fighting through, climbing through, getting into the house, getting on top of the roof, finding a little hatch in, getting to the secret underground part, doing all this other stuff. And as Snake comes up, we finally see Mrs. Genetic Bioweapon herself, Naomi, on the phone, and she's like, "Then we'll have to make a lot of changes. Yes, that's right, we'll need another go at it. That won't be a problem. Yes, I'll take care of it, of course. Yes, I understand." She's basically just having a one-sided conversation that we're here. And she's like, "Yes, the next test," and then goes to... and Snake approaches her and is like, "Naomi," and he's like, we're approaching her, and she basically kind of puts her hand up, "Hold on, I'm still on the fucking phone, rude," and is like, "Okay, and the thing's on your end." Okay, she's like, "I see, we're on schedule here as well, until then," and then hangs up. And she is like, "Snake, I knew you'd come." And Naomi begins to start walking towards Snake, and she's like, "You and I, neither of us can escape our fate. I haven't seen you since Shadow Moses." And there's flashbacks from the first game here. And there's a little conversation I'll keep going, but my first thing would have been like, "You're right, yeah, the last time I saw you was when you injected me with a life-altering virus, you bitch." I would be like, don't, we're not just gonna skip by that. But yeah, so...
He's distracted.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, in the beginning, right?
You're muted, Alex.
Allie was sitting through this part. It was about the time she woke up in the morning, was sitting down, and she probably watched this for 45 minutes or so, and then was just like, "Why doesn't she button up her shirt?" she needs to close her shirt. It's like, I don't know.
Hey, look, man,
what to
it's hot in
tell
South
you.
Africa. All right, it's hot.
Yeah,
Sure
I
is.
guess. I guess. It's just did she comment on his age? She didn't, did she?
She does later. I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
when
Okay.
he-
I didn't remember.
Through
I
this
just
conversation,
remember-
but I was just saying what I would say in this, because what's funny is that again, like in the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 1, when Snake gets injected, it's told like, I'm injecting you with basically superhuman nanomachines that are going to make you super strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true. It's just that there was also a life-ending virus that was also put in him at the time. But I'd be like, yeah, no, yeah, it has been about 10 years since you fucking basically murdered me, you bitch. But yeah. So, she's like, how long has it been? Like 10 years? And Snake's like, 9. Like, just flat. Like, it's been 9. Yeah. And she's like, and Dr. Emmerich, is he with you? And Snake's like, why? Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm here to get you, but like, what are we? Like, you could tell there's almost like an annoyed, like, why are we doing this back and forth shit? And she's like, I thought he'd be the only one to open the mail I sent. Not many people could recognize a 4D sound data and a Soliton radar file. She's like, how is the good doctor? And Snake's like, Otacon's fine. He's the same as ever. And then she's like, oh, his nickname is Otacon. And Snake's basically looking around the room, like scanning it for, just different, like, just looking for threats or anything like that. Did you guys notice any of the little things that were happening around here?
Yeah, the laughing
Little
octopus lady
tells.
was going past like the window and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was? Oh, I didn't. I don't know that I did. I think I saw a flash of something, but I didn't catch who it was. Of course, we know
Yeah.
it's leads, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So there's that. There's like little clips of like soldiers that are like running around doing things. But yes, yeah, good. So yes,
I saw
that is a
the
catch
soldier.
that-
I did see the soldier one. Yeah, I did see the soldier one.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a couple times where Laughing Octopus is like hanging and like looking in the window a little bit, and then when Snake comes around the corner, she's like, "Oh shit!" and like backs away.
I didn't see that. Interesting.
Yeah. But then so Snake's like, he just asks, he's like, so who were you just talking to? And she's like, Liquid. Although I suppose he's really Ocelot from a medical standpoint. And Snake was like, I thought he was here. She's like, well, he's not at the moment. And Snake is like, where are all the guards here? And she's like, they know I won't escape. I'm powerless to resist. I have no choice but to cooperate. And he just goes, Naomi, what happened in the Middle East? And she's like, what you saw was the soldiers' emotion run amok, basically. And he was like, so that's just another product of the system. And she's like, you don't trust me? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. And she's like, and if I answer your question? And he's like, let's hear the answer. Like, and then I'll decide. And he's like, well, Liquid, we thought that the SOP was an ID control system designed primarily to maintain order and control on the battlefield, and we were right, but only partially. SOP had another function to control people's senses. She basically goes into detail about how the nanomachines are doing this. Same thing that sort of Meryl gave us back in part 1, right? It was just talking about how it controls all the emotions and different things. And improves their combat abilities by doing all of this stuff. Snake asks if, this, so what does this have to do with the test of hers? And she was like, well, the goal was to release the soldiers' nanomachines from the system, but we didn't know about the mental control. She's like, and so then Snake's like, well, so then your nanomachines, like the nanomachines inside the soldiers went berserk. She's like, no, our test was a success. At least it confirmed our hypothesis at the time. Just as we predicted, the nanomachines stopped functioning and the PMC soldiers were freed from the grips of the system. But the moment the system stopped functioning, all the pain and fury and sorrow, trauma, stress, hatred, regret, guilt, all the sensations that had been suppressed were unleashed all at once. It was like just immediate. Then she's like, she goes, the user body rejected the nanomachines, and this reaction then has to be suppressed with drugs before the user knows it. Their mind is in complete shambles, just like Frank Yeager, Gray Fox. And obviously that is, as we know from the first game, that was Naomi's brother, which is the whole reason why she created Fox Die in the first place. Still has nothing to do with Snake, so I don't know why she would, but whatever. So then She's like, they twisted his body for their experiments and nullified his broken heart with nanomachines. SOP has taken it even further and applied it to living human beings. The sins of war that these soldiers carried inside them returned to assault them in the form of unimaginable shell shock. So from there, she, like, Snake is, they're listening through, and Snake basically just goes, okay, so what about me then? I've never been under the system's control, so why did I go crazy? And she's like, well, that's why I want to examine your body. You need to know too, about. She basically alludes to, like, you also need to know, like, what the fuck is happening to you, and tell Snake to undress. And Snake goes to walk away from her, and she's like, what's got into you? Hurry up. And Snake is like, all right. So then he puts in like some hospital gear, and she like goes like, oh my God, like is like taken aback and is like almost like in shock at basically how like decrepit Snakes look at this point. And obviously we figure out some things later, but in this moment when I was playing through the game for the first time, I'm like, you did this. Like,
yeah,
you
should, you should know.
Right? Like, that's what I was like, you injected him with Fox dye.
Not only that, like, you also have been able to keep up with other people in his sphere and circle, so you should at least know what's going on with him. Like, you reach out to Otacon and other stuff. Like, even if you're not
she
close,
hasn't. She hasn't talked to anybody. Like, she's been in hiding ever since Shadow Moses.
But she knew how to get, like, she knew how to get something out, right? So I feel like if you can get information out, you've probably got information in. I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like you knew about the virus. You probably should know too, just about like.
Didn't she mention that the virus
is, like,
wasn't the thing that was making him old? Wasn't it just his genetic
that's why that
creation?
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying is that we haven't gotten there yet. But in this moment, when I was playing through the game the first time, and she's like shocked about how Snakes looked, I'm like, you injected him with a virus that was supposed to explode his heart at a given time, right? Like, I don't understand why you're so shocked that he's all fucked up. Like, if you had it your way, his heart would have exploded, and just like Liquid's did, and just like everybody and the other Arms Tech president and everybody that had anything to do with your brother, he would have just had his heart explode. So, like, I don't know. It's just, to me, I was like, why are you faking like you give a fuck? Like, that's how I took it in the beginning, or when I first played through it. And so then Snake just goes like, all right, let's just get this over with. And she's like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. And Snake was like, do you remember what I told you in my video mail about the first generation nanomachines? And Snake goes, the ones you stuck me with at Shadow Moses? And she's like, yes, the nanomachines are recharged by your body heat. They won't stop functioning until they're all extracted, or until you do. Most of them inside your body have been lost through bleeding, but around 30% still remain inside your body, attached to your cells. The first generation were never ID registered, so they don't react to the same way that the SOP nanomachines, but they may be interfering with your body and with your heart. And so he goes, so does the aging have something to do with Fox dye then? And she goes, no, your telomeres were intentionally set up to be short. So regardless of the age of the original, one of the genes that inhibit reproduction and aging, the Clotho gene, was intentionally mutated as well. But more importantly, your chromosomes, like Liquid, were provided with terminator genes to prevent them from making copies. And Snake was like, why? And she goes, you are clones created for one purpose, war. And so in order to prevent you from being abused by clients or stolen by the enemy, they shortened your lifespan and removed your ability to reproduce. It was for a safety device to ensure that the seed of Big Boss didn't end up in the hands of others. The reason you're aging so rapidly isn't because of disease or faulty research or Fox dye. It's how you were born. It's your natural lifespan. And this, like, it sort of, pulls out a little bit and shows Snake, like, sitting there. And I still don't care for Naomi in general, but in relation to Snake, I mean. But, like, this was, like, one of those sections where you're just like, Alex, to your point about Rose being a tragic character, this is sort of like the tragedy of Solid Snake, right? In much
Sure.
the same way that we've dealt with that same thing that happened to Big Boss during the course of Snake Eater. It's like you're seeing sort of a similar thing of like Snake has never done anything incorrect, right? Like he's never done anything to push back against anything. He's never done anything that's like that would, have any of these situations. It was like truly just like, oh no, you were built like this. Like you were just it was always going to end like this unless you got killed out in action, right?
Sure.
And then you start to think like, well, as far as so Liquid would have had the same thing happen to him. And it also explains why Solidus, because he was that test one first, it explains why he was looking so old at the time of Metal Gear Solid 2, right? Versus what Snake and Liquid were. But it's also like this thing where you're like, oh damn, so the weird anime shit that happened to Liquid where his arm got implanted like onto Ocelot, it's like, oh well, that actually makes it so that he doesn't have that issue anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So interesting there. But yeah, so then Snake just goes like, so Naomi, I need the truth. How long is my body going to hold out? And Naomi's like, your cells, blood, organs, nerves, skeletal system, muscle tissue, every part of your body is aging rapidly. And an ordinary man wouldn't even be able to be standing right now. Snake, the only thing that's keeping you together is your strength of your will. And Snake goes, how long do I have? Like basically hitting the table, like demanding an answer. And she goes, 6 months. And Snake goes to put the cigarette back in his mouth, and she like yanks it from him and is like, don't. And she goes, there's something that I have to tell you. And he's like, what? And she goes, you and I both know that your body is approaching its limit. When I said another half a year, I wasn't talking about your lifespan. And Snake goes, what do you mean? And she's like, well, we can't get rid of the fox eye in your body completely. At this point, it's circulating within you like a normal virus. And she goes, fox eye only kills its victims when the infected person's genetic code fully matches the genetic sequence programmed into the virus's receptors. In other words, it only attacks targets with specific genes. And he goes, I know, that's what killed the AT president and Liquid. And she's like, yes, and at the same time, it's set up to protect those not designated as targets from the virus's harmful effects. And so she goes to show it, she's like, but because of all of the changing that's happening in your body that even she did not know about when she did all this, she's like, the virus is starting to mutate. Because the viruses on the left are fox eye in its original form, and the ones on the right I took from your body, they're already mutated. The receptors, they're wearing down. And this mutated version of fox eye could activate even if the infected person's genetic pattern doesn't perfectly match the receptors, which means the virus is becoming indiscriminate about what type of target it kills. It's just ever since Shadow Moses, fox eye has been breeding continuously in the nanomachine colony inside your body and dispersing into the air, but there are no more targets to attack, so there haven't been any more outbreaks. However, if the receptors continue to wear down, it'll become a killer virus that attacks untold number of victims. And Snake is like, he like sort of like clears like the table, like throws all of the paper, like the papers that are on the table. He's like, what if we kill them all and remove them from the body? And she's like, there's no antibodies either. I don't know what percentage of the receptors have to break down or how many people will be targeted when that happens. What is certain is that the people will begin to catch fox eye through the airborne transmission. It will start with those closest to you, and then one by one they'll lose their lives. The part of the virus that distinguishes between individuals will start to break down in about half a year. And then she goes, and Snake says half a year. She goes, no, that'll happen at 3 months at most. And Snake's like, basically surprised, like 3 months. And she's like, ironic, isn't it? You spent your whole life saving the world from Metal Gear, from nuclear annihilation, and now you're becoming a doomsday device yourself. I can't predict exactly how devastating the epidemic will be, whether just 1% of the human race could unlock the broken receptors, or whether we all can. In either case, 3 months from now, you'll be a walking biological weapon, and if it were up to me, you'd be quarantined already. And Snake's like, it's not over for me yet. I'm just going to pause here really quick. This is another section where I'm like, oh my god, fuck you. Oh my god, fuck you. Like, this is your fault. Like,
Yeah, you did it.
You don't get to absolve yourself just because, like, somebody told you to do this, or, like, all these things, and the government, like, you helped create Fox Die. You did it as a personal vendetta against everybody that did all those things against your brother. And even though you told people in the government that it was only going to affect Snake and Liquid and it was going to be this giant cover-up that Solidus wanted to have happen and all this other stuff, at the end of the day, you knew what you were doing. You made a super virus, and now it's gotten out of control, and you want to, like, belittle the person. It seems so shitty to me to be like, isn't it crazy that you spent your whole life basically serving others, doing all the right thing, and now you're about to become a walking nuke? And it's like, yeah, except that I wouldn't have had that happen to me if I had never ever in my life met you, you stupid asshole. Like, I don't know. I just thought that whole section was crazy, where, she is kind of like very flippant about it, being like,
and how have you not how have you not been working since then, like behind the scenes or even undercover, to like try and create an antivirus or do all these different things? Because
and it's clear that she hasn't. It's clear that she's been doing her own shit. Like, she's been trying to work on nanomachine research and do all this other stuff, and then happens to get in bed with Liquid and all this other shit. But yeah, like, she's very clearly, just like she said at the end of the first game, she's been very self-serving through this whole time. Like, she's like, no, I just want to, I want to figure out more nanomachine stuff. I think there's something cool there. I'm gonna work on that. Fuck you, by the way.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. But yeah, so then, she's like, I know you still have a job to do. You have 3 months, still enough time to think once all this is done with. And Snake's like, and if I choose death first, will that stop Foxdie from spreading? And she's like, well, when the host dies, the virus dies with it. And she goes, tell me one more thing. Have you been to a hospital lately? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, why were you there? Did they give you injections? And he's like, don't they always? And she basically goes, there's a new strain of Foxdie injected into you, one that I've never seen before. Someone must have put them in you recently. And Snake immediately is like, oh, it must have been Drebin. And she's like, the new Foxdie strain is already starting to multiply rapidly. And she goes, and we ask what's in it. And she's like, I can't say for sure. I'll need to do some more tests. Here, take this. And then gives us basically a set of syringes. It's just a new mechanic in the game where if our psyche or stress goes too far down, we use these syringes to boost it back up. And she basically warns us and is like, hey, much like with the soldiers, like, that we use this on, eventually that will stop working. So it only has so many uses before you'll get diminishing returns, because it's basically like, drugs. And she basically then says, like, she goes, I've been a fool. I let myself drown in my nanomachines, and now I'm trapped by them. Snake was like, well, you said yourself we mustn't allow ourselves to be chained to fate. And she's like, I can't slip free. So then Snake's like, okay, well, then I'm going to free us both. Where's Liquid? And she's like, I can't tell you yet, not until you free me. And at this point, honestly, if I was Snake, I would have slapped her. I would have been like, I'm not doing this with you. Like, you are in no place to bargain with me, number one. And number two, I think, all things considered, I'm being very cool about the fact that you turned me into a nuke against my will for nothing that I did, and that I had nothing to do with what happened to your brother, by the way, so also go fuck yourself. And you're going to tell me where Liquid is at so that I can assassinate him, and then I'm going to go deal with myself however I need to deal with myself. To stop making demands of me. But Snake instead just goes, well, do you even know where he's at? Like, are you just bullshitting? And she's like, Liquid left here last night. We asked where she's headed, or where he was headed. She goes, those are my terms. I can't leave this place of my own will. And he goes, what are you talking about? And then she's like, I'm being watched. She goes, Liquid has altered his plan. Removing the system will only cause his army to collapse from within. So he's chosen to seize control instead. Liquid's objective is to hijack the SOP system. He'll use it to create the ultimate army of perfect soldiers and then launch his insurrection against the Patriots. There's a name for his new plan. He calls it Guns of the Patriots. Here we get the title of the game. And from there, that's when everything sort of breaks loose. So from right there, the PMC soldiers and Laughing Octopus bust in and break Naomi out of there. They start leading her out, and we get this boss fight. So the boss fight starts basically in two phases. One, there is a bunch of the elite like frog unit soldiers that are in there. You deal with all of them, and then after all of those are dealt with, Laughing Octopus comes in, and then we get this part of the fight. Now, obviously, this is our fourth game here, so we know how this goes. But did everybody just do the non-lethal kill, or did you do the regular kill here?
Well, Preston watched it.
Yeah,
You
I
know-
watched it. So I
Right.
mean,
But you can answer what happened in yours, Press. Did the person trank them, or did they kill them?
Trank, non-lethal.
Okay.
You know I did non-lethal. I did non-lethal the whole playthrough last time too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when I
So,
start playing it, there might be a different situation, but we'll see what goes. What happens.
Yeah. Preston would have just killed them.
I mean, the shooting way is much faster than the non-lethal way, but yeah.
It sure is. Well, it depends. If you have the Trank sniper rifle by now, like if you bought it from Drebin, it does massive Trank damage. So, you can always go that route. Yeah. So there is a little bit here throughout this fight, but basically you get an extra item and a little bit extra sort of like cutscene stuff from the Trank, but for the most part, it's the same thing. At the end, when we get through this fight, there's basically two phases. There's the
Hide and seek phase.
Well, yes, there's the hide and seek phase where she's like camoed up against things or different places, and you go and find her hiding in those little different places, and then afterwards, she basically ditches the whole suit and is basically just like in her like plug suit more or less. I don't know another way to describe it, but it's like the same suits that the pilots wore in
Pacific
Zone
Rim.
of the Enders.
Okay.
Or Pacific Rim, or even Evangelion. So whatever mech fandom you are familiar with.
Skin tight bodysuit
Yep.
that surfers would wear, stuff like that. Yeah. With
Yeah,
more
yeah,
tech
yeah.
on it.
So but
Skin tight.
so
Skin tight.
I'm not going to go through the entire
need to.
like back and forth that Laughing Octopus has with Snake here, mostly because I just don't think any of them are that good. But
I can explain it really quickly if you want me to, because I thought it was.
Well, no. So no, because you're thinking of the
horrendous.
Drebin part where he explains the lore. I'm saying like
No, I'm saying we're
this
laughing octopus. Well, yeah, that's fair. She
right
explains. Yeah,
because
go ahead.
this like there's the whole part where she's like, I'm an octopus, an 8-legged beast. These tentacles are beyond my control. Their will is the will of the battlefield. That all of that stuff. It's her basically just talking about her gimmick more or less.
Yeah.
That's the deal. And she, at the end of it, she's like, I won't laugh anymore. I can't. I don't want to. And then that's where the final section of this fight happens, where you either again do it Trank or do it death
Lethal
way.
Yep.
And when you go to check on her, she's still breathing, still alive, and then through the Trank, and then this is where we get the call from Drebin. And Drebin, this is going to be what happens for all of the B&B fights throughout the rest of the game. So you will do the fight, and Drebin will give you their backstory, and you will either decide if that backstory is
Bad.
fine
That's
or bad. I'm not saying this one. I'm saying for all four of them, when he does it, you will either be like, okay, or you'll be like, actually, I should have hung up on you in the beginning, Drebin. I won't say how I feel about all of them until we get done with it, but in this particular instance, yeah, so her main thing was that I'm skipping all this other stuff, and I'm just going to give the little section that's her background, which is she was from a village in Scandinavia, and overnight there was a invading village that came in and made her kill all of her friends and family, and told her that she needed to laugh while she did it, and they used to call her the Devil's Child. And they forced her to, do all this stuff. So she did. She cut everybody up, kill them all. And then they made her bathe in the blood of everybody that they killed, and then it was like it gradually turned from a deep red to a jet black. To her, it looked like the ink of an octopus, and the experience scarred her so deep. And ever since then, she hasn't stopped laughing. Only it's not really laughter. And Snake, I'm assuming much like Alex, goes, "So why are you telling me this? Do you expect me to feel sorry for her?" And Drebin's like, "Nah, I know you ain't got no room for that kind of stuff in your world. And besides, this is war, right? So, in a way, I guess it was the right thing to do." And Snake was like, "What?" And Drebin just goes, "Fighting you cleansed her mind. So, you know, and he goes, anyway, that's enough chit chat. There are other beasts out there. So watch your back." And we move on to the final section of the mission here. I'll pause because I know Alex, you definitely have some thoughts on this one.
This is when the hack shit creeps up, right? Because you have you have already built in a reason for these people to be crazy. Your reason is they're all jacked with these nanomachines that allow them to actually control and manipulate the emotions of people. So you don't need a crazy backstory to say she went nuts as a kid. You say these nanomachines and the people or the AI in control of them are manipulating her into being psychotic. Done. Move the fuck on. Instead, you go this other route because you actually left a part out, and in my opinion, the most important part of the stupid fucking story, which is the people that came in and murdered everybody in the village were like pissed off that these people in the village were like eating something that are like damaging the environment.
They were eating octopus. They thought that it was they thought it was like a satanic food ritual.
They were yes, stupid. So they're mad that this like water village like on the shore is eating octopus, so they come in and murder everybody. But then it also begs the question, again, the hack shit of the writing, which is the blood, like they made her forgiving all that they made her laugh while doing it, and it's just stupid in itself. But the line of like the blood went from red to jet black and reminded her of an octopus. Okay, so did they bring her in and say, we have 4 animal creatures for you to be? What would you want? And she's like, oh, I'm fucking crazy, and that blood looked like ink, like an octopus, so I'll take the octopus one? No, she's named after the weird mechanical shit she uses, so it just so happened to be that she's from a village. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. So,
to
like,
me,
again,
if I had a guess, would be because of her cultural background in that town, she decided with the nanomachines to make a Doc Ock suit, but that's just me.
No, so I'll say
I'm
so.
reaching.
You're Preston's closer, but really what it was when they got picked up, much like Raiden did when he was a child, right? So when that whole situation, the people who picked her up and then they did the research was like, you know, like, okay, for instance, right, like the way that Raiden acted, and then Solidus was like, you'd be really cool as a ninja. That's what I'm going to do to you, right? Like, because of I know what your background is. That's more or less what happened here, which was, we know your background, so for you, like, it's like the fucking Lord of the Rings, and for the dwarves, there were 8, like, you know, like that thing, like, it's like, so for you, little octopus girl, we're going to make you the octopus suit. She didn't have a choice in the matter or anything. It was just...
Right.
We know her background, so that's what we're building for her.
This whole backstory is the hack shit. Like, the brilliance of it is the AI has taken over and become the Patriots and so on. Like, it's running the war machine, and like these nano machines are in all of these soldiers. It controls what they say, it controls the way they think, it allows them to sync up perfectly together and fight as a unit, and it manipulates their emotions so they don't feel pain. And they actually said you get enjoyment out of killing, like it ups the serotonin. Like, that's the brilliant. And this is the hack shit. And it's so stupid and was long for no reason. I was so pissed. I was so pissed by the background. And I was just like, you didn't need any of that at all.
So like I said, I won't give my opinion on all the B&Bs until, because I just... Yeah, and I just don't want to, like, influence anything at all. Like, if there's one that you guys come away from and you might like it or whatever, I don't want to, like, preempt or anything, right? With like my particular opinion on any of them.
Before you continue on, I mentioned beforehand I've seen parts of this. I'll like to where I don't like know the story beats. I've just kind of seen bits and pieces of it. I mentioned that this is the horniest out of all the games. Would you guys agree now, after Naomi with her shirt open, which is kind of just a normal thing, Snake Eater, it's okay. There's only 3 women in the entire game. 2 of them all have their shirts open. But in this game, you have Naomi with her shirt open, and then you have sexy skin tight lady who gets very drippy and like wet. And there's camera angles that are specifically made for certain times that you don't need, but they put it in there because someone wanted that angle real bad.
Allie and I called that out. So, yes, the camera angles, there were a lot of Dutch angles, boobs up, like below the boobs.
Like ass
butt,
and sections, yeah.
Right, but like, and it was weird, like you would like be looking up at her, but instead of like staring from a distance, it's like below the boobs. So it's funny. If I think back on the fight now, I don't think it was that horny because I forgot about all of those parts that while Allie and I were sitting there watching it together, I was laughing and we're just like, she's like, what is this? And I was like, and I told her, I was like, Christian has this great statement where Kojima walks the line of complete genius and complete hack shit. I go, there's fan service for this for no other reason than fan service, like, which is what this is. Like the rest of this is good and this is not good. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm being hard because I thought the background was shit, and I did roll my eyes hard at those cutscenes.
Yeah.
The fight though was not difficult, but really good because they did some interesting things.
She's like hiding in a box so you can kind of see parts of like the vest and like that's really kind of cool idea. Like rather than just have her invisible.
Or like there's a part in the lab where there's nothing but cables and all these other things around, and so she lays in it, and it uses her tentacles as like it also looks as like cables and stuff.
They did one. I killed the 2 of those elites, and they were down, and I ran around while she was laughing at me for 3 minutes, and I looked around on the ground and go, wait a minute. I was like, how many people did I kill? And Allie's like, you killed 2, and there were 3 there, and I was like, what? I was like, that's fucking clever.
Yeah.
Like I will give it to you.
Ideas.
So like, it was great. There were parts of it that were great. But then there were other parts that were just like, dude, what are we doing?
You got too far. Somebody need to reel them in a little bit on some of this, right?
Yes.
And that's part of what I said to you guys, right? Like when we were doing this was like, you know, so there's a lot of people who would say that Death Stranding is like pure unmitigated Kojima, and I would tell them that in parts of that I think that that's true, but I think it really started here.
Sure.
In my opinion. But yeah, so like I said, I'll wait until the end for mine. But I'm interested to see how you guys feel about the rest of them.
We're 0 for 1 right now, so we'll see how the rest go.
For this one specifically,
got a very cute short haircut. I'll give her that.
For this one specifically, I agree about your feelings on this one. I was back then, still now, less than pleased. But boy, let me tell you, this next section made me forget all about that.
That's a good section. This is a section coming up that made me think about Alex's photo of him getting the PS3. I'm like, I really want to fucking play this game.
Dude,
I want to play this game so bad right now.
We're like halfway through this playthrough, is all I'm gonna say right now. Like, there's
Got one of the 4 double B's. All right, so
no. I'm talking about like tonight, like the hour and like 32 minutes.
No.
We're like halfway.
This is the last section.
Yeah, this is the last section.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot that happens in this section.
There's a lot that happened in this section.
Yeah, but that's all gameplay stuff, and we skip
Naomi talks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so we skip all that. But anyway, so as we're basically chasing after Naomi. So we're approaching her trail. We're using the night vision goggles to try to track her, all this other stuff. And we do that because Raiden gives us he calls us and gives us some information basically to be like, hey, this is how you should try to track. And Snake is like, how the fuck did you figure this out? Like, because he basically, Snake admits, like, I didn't get that cool part of Big Boss. Like, I didn't get that part. Liquid got that part. So, meh. And so Raiden is like, well, he is like, so, he basically says like, hey, afterwards, like, after I found Sunny and everything, like I kind of just drifted and I spent some time in Alaska and did all of this stuff and found this training. Here's what they do. You should try this. Blah blah blah. Kind of like schooling Snake a little bit in this, and Snake's like, "You sound like a ninja," and Raiden goes, "Yes," like period. And he says ninjas are the ultimate scout and all this other stuff. But a thing that he does mention is that during this time, like Snake asks him like, hey, so what with Rose? Like, why didn't you ever go back? You didn't do any of this stuff. And Raiden actually gives a pretty good answer here that I think plays into how he was feeling at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 and shows just like where his mental state has gone, right? Where he's like, Rose doesn't exist. And he's like, Rose and I live in different worlds, different times. Her world has no place for someone like me. My place is out here on the battlefield. And from there, it's like, remember, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, like, he asked Rose straight up, like, are you real? Like, are you actually here right now? Like, that whole thing. And so I thought that was really cool, where he's just like, oh, yeah, no, I completely bought into that. I'm just a super soldier, and that's period. That's it. I'm just letting everything else go. And so from there, like we're basically doing it, right? So we're just going through and we are trying to track Naomi throughout the jungle. We're following the footsteps. There's some traps that have been laid for us, depending on which route you go. You can either be sneaky and avoid all of them, or you can, get loud with it, kill everybody, however you want to do it. I imagine that had Preston been playing and not watching the playthrough,
Everyone's
our boy
dead.
would have been there with the M4 carbine. He would have been loud, and he'd have just let everybody know that he's coming to that airport and he's gonna do what he needs to do.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah, everyone's dead.
You can buy weapons now.
But as we get to
You
the
can.
airfield portion here, Snake calls out and he calls Otacon. He's like, I found Vamp. And Otacon's like, yeah, they're taking her away. And Liquid is on the phone with Vamp and says, do it now before we're interrupted again. And Vamp goes, well, we don't know what will happen. You should remember the last time. And Liquid is like, I'm willing to make a few sacrifices. Vamp's like, all right, as you wish. And he goes, okay, we've got the go-ahead, begin, and we'll use his blood. It could get intense. Brace yourselves. And Vamp looks at everybody on the helicopter and goes, shots, all of you. And right when he says that, Snake this entire time has been lining up a shot with his gun and getting everything ready to go, and fucking domes Vamp. Not only domes him, but does it almost in the exact same spot that he did it last time.
I cheered at that.
Yeah. And does it, and so Vamp, falls, catches his phone, and then goes, I'll be taking a nap, and then passes out. And the PMC soldiers in the rest of his helicopter thing, they can't move because they've already tranked themselves so that they're not a part of the test that's happening, so they're knocked out. And so all the PMC soldiers start to go crazy, just like last time. And Naomi yells at Snake from inside the helicopter and says, Snake, the syringe. And Snake goes to inject himself with the case that he got from Naomi back at the thing. And Gecko units suddenly start to jump in from the scene. Like they're just swarming the whole fucking heliport, basically. And Naomi is looking over all the soldiers and she's like, it's not working. The emotional controls aren't stable enough yet. And Naomi yells out for Snake. And right as she goes to yell for him, Drebin, our boy, shows up, pulls up, jumps over, knocks out one of the geckos with a sick Tokyo Drift turn, looks at Snake and he's like, do you need a lift? And tells everybody to get in, and Naomi jumps from the top of the helicopter, lands on top of Drebin's thing. Snake tells her to jump down to him. They jump down, they get in, and from there, we are on a little...
So hold on, because this is what I want to. This is what I want to say. So, in this previous scene, we're tracking Naomi, and Allie and I are just shooting the shit about this game because she's watched from the Naomi cutscene, which was way too long, and to now, right? And she hasn't watched any other playthroughs. So I'm like, this is Kojima being Kojima, and like I don't know how much money they spent, but look at this Apple shit, and like look, there's an iPod in here, and that's when I got into the iPod for the first time. I was like, holy shit, like it has the scroll wheel, it's so well done. So I turned on J-pop, and there's this like poppy little dance song. So we're running around tracking Naomi, and this music's playing. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, like this is the poppiest shit. This is the only way I want to play the rest of this game. So we run forward, we hit this cutscene, and this cutscene that you just explained is like 4-ish minutes, maybe 5-ish minutes long. Like it's not short, right? But there's stuff going on. Cutscene happens, music's done. I forget about the music. I'm expecting to come back, and we're gonna do the scene. And dude, the game does from here to the end. We get to the marketplace and play through that part. The game quits your music and gives you this most serious ass cutscenes. And every time we come out and we're on this rail shooter that's about to happen, it's the funniest fucking J-pop while we're murdering these Zambos you're about to talk about. And I was dying because I forgot it was playing. Yeah. And it just put us in this next rail section, and it's just jamming out. And I can't do anything to the volume because, like, I'm stuck on this auto gun, so I can't, like, turn it off. And I just laughed for like the last like 15 minutes of this playthrough as we were going through it. Is so good.
The iPod stuff that you can get is great. But yeah, so we're basically driving through exactly what Alex said. It's an auto shooter part. You're just on rails. You're shooting, and we're noticing now that this next test is different than last time. So it's not so much that the soldiers are going crazy anymore. They have some sort of like objective, like they think they're still heading after Snake. They know things, but to Alex's point, they basically act like zombies.
They're zombies. They walk like zombies.
Just like, right.
Yeah.
And they sort of walk like zombies, and they're all blah 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 blah. And so you're taking them out. You're taking the gecko out. You're going back and forth. And as we get closer towards the market section, Drebin goes to take. He just tries to do another Tokyo Drift thing here. And he puts a little too much sauce on it and flips the APC, and so they start to get out ready to run towards where Otacon is at with the helicopter, and they get surrounded by a mass of gecko that are basically warming the streets ahead. But then Snake looks above and sees near one of the top of the buildings near the market, and sees a robed figure on the rooftops and just says, "Raiden." And from there, I feel as though Doom Rip and Tear should start playing. But we see a very different Raiden than we remember from the end of the second game. And he is in like a full cybernetic exoskeleton. And he's got like this rad-ass helmet that's got his code name across the top. And he's got obviously the high-frequency blade that we remember from the end of number 2. And he jumps down. Huh?
Is it dancing around with some heels?
Kinda. They're more like grippies, I guess.
Yeah, they were heels. Heels with hands.
Yeah, but it's almost
It's like ninja heels.
Yeah. They are basically like they're designed like ninja feet.
A bit of fashion, a bit of function. I get it.
Yeah. He instructs Snake to stay back, and then leaps to the ground and just starts, going to work. And Preston, Alex, you haven't played this, but Preston, you can obviously see the early ideas here for what ends up being in Rising. But yeah, so we just get a cool scene. So it's just scenes of Raiden fighting here, and it's just really cool. And Drebin actually sort of sets off this battle by he takes a giant swig of the soda, and then is like, "Here they come!" And then from right there we get where all of these geckos sort of swarm right, and he's chopping the legs off. He's like, there's one point where they start grabbing him, and he's like does like a spin and like spins them around and like hits each other with them. So it's like, and there's actually a scene. So they don't. I don't know if you noticed it in the video, Preston, because it depends on the level of like quality or whatever that they're doing. But Alex, you probably noticed this during the playthrough. But you actually see parts of Raiden's exoskeleton like flex and like pump out depending on whatever he's doing. So there's like a part where he like goes to like like flip one of the gecko over him, and his back, like you see all the muscles in his back like expand really quick when he does it, and it's just like one of those little touches where you're like, that's cool as hell. Actually, that's how that works. And from there, you take control back of Snake. You're running through, and Otacon is basically telling you of the thing like, hey, ignore all the gecko. Don't even try to fight them. Just run. Like, just make it to the helicopter. And as Snake is making his way over there, Naomi got there ahead of us because we obviously sent her ahead. Otacon's like, sorry, I can't help you in. I'm a little busy right now. And the Mark II appears to allow Naomi to like step on it to get into the elevator. And Snake runs up, and Otacon like waves at him to stop and is like, don't forget the Mark II. And Snake is like, oh my God. And like reaches down and like picks this things up and like throws it in there and gets in. Snake is like, Otacon, get us the hell out of here. And Otacon goes, where's Raiden? And he goes, it's still fighting. Or he's still fighting. And then from there, we get the final little cutscene here, which is Naomi notices Vamp, and Snake tries to call out to Raiden to warn him, and Vamp's like, yet again, our paths cross. And when he gets up there, like 7 gecko have restrained Raiden with their crazy little wire arms things. And he goes and just... Snake is trying to get a stable shot in the helicopter with a sniper rifle, but he can't get a good shot at it. And so Vamp basically takes a knife and like stabs it right into Raiden's left shoulder, and then slides it over his torso region completely, and then puts it into him again. And he goes, are you two immortal? And Raiden just looks at him and goes, no, I just don't fear death. And when he does that, Snake shoots and breaks one of the arms on Raiden. And from there, Raiden then uses one of the cords and like crashes one of the other geckos into him, takes his sword back, starts fighting all these things, and then it's a battle basically between Raiden and Vamp. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. There's, if you want to go watch the cutscene, you can. It's very cool.
One little cool part was him doing the whole breakdance scene to where it's like he's on his back, grips the sword with his foot, and just is fucking twirling. I'm like, that's some of the cool shit. That's some of that rad-ass rising shit. I fucking love it.
And there is actually a move that he does specifically from Rising 2 where he is using the sword as like a pogo thing and like spinning it forward and like swinging towards Vamp and that. I was like, oh my God. And he's doing it fast enough and doing this that the blade actually starts to get hot and is like, like you start to see it get like red hot across there. And Vamp goes to grab him, and Raiden is like, yeah, that's cool. And then slams the blade like through him and then gets it all the way through Vamp and like, shoves it through. But either way, so Raiden does enough damage that Vamp is like, could you be the one to finally finish me? And Raiden takes the sword out, cuts him one more time, and he falls over and gets knocked out. And Snake calls out to Raiden. Raiden does like crazy ninja hops up some buildings and into the helicopter. And Snake's like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. And then it's just like, blech, and it just like throws up all of his blood everywhere. And Snake is like, holy fuck. Like, they're trying to like, get him down. It cuts to Vamp, and Vamp basically comes back to his feet and wakes back up and calls Liquid and is like, boss, she got away. Are you sure about this? And Liquid's like, it's all part of the plan. And then Vamp's like, the test was a failure, even with his code. And Liquid's like, as I feared, it was not pure enough. We need his whole, like, the whole body of Big Boss. And so Vamp is like, all the PMCs that we tested this on are have suffered brain damage. Like, there's nothing we can do here. And Liquid's like, yeah, that's fine. I just need you back here, so just leave. And then it cuts to Raiden. They're trying to stabilize Raiden and get him all good. And Otacon just goes, Vamp, he's got to be immortal. And Naomi goes, nope, he's not immortal. It was all my design that caused his body to be like that. And so she basically explains that, like, he has hyper-specific nanomachines in his body that cause his wounds to close and heal at an accelerated rate. Someone took the basic nanomachine technology that I once researched and perfected it. In a sense, I'm responsible for Vamp. He's one of my sins. Um, and then Snake asks if she has the same nanomachines in her body. She does not answer him and just says, I brought a monster in this world and I too am. And then Raiden goes and starts having like a seizure again. And at the end of it, as they start to stabilize them, they said that he needs a blood transfusion of this crazy ass, white nanomachine blood that he's got. And I honestly think, by the way, that this is like a huge direct reference to Alien, another movie that Kojima loves,
Oh, sure.
but that how all the androids have
freak out. Yeah.
white blood. Yeah. But Raiden sits up in the middle of this and tells Snake that he needs to go to Europe and meet Big Mama, and then he passes out. And there, we get our next the mission briefing scene, and that the next one will be for Act 3, which is called Third Son, and that's what we'll be playing next. So There we go. So I guess really quick, what were your guys' thoughts?
I liked the playthrough a lot. I liked that I got a chance to play it and experience it with sound and everything. I like the story. I like where it's going. Again, there were little nitpicks I had with, the octopus being one of them. I don't like the idea of this game trying to build Vamp into somebody I could give a shit about. Like, the fact that they're making him like, I assume he's the beast with the beauties, right? Like,
no.
Vamp. And
No.
No.
Oh, no.
The women are beauty, but they are beasts as well.
Oh, okay. Well, either way. Okay, thank you. That's great. Vamp is clearly like the one that's pretty high up in that little platoon with those girls too, it seems like. So I hate the idea
He's
of
become Liquid's right-hand man almost.
Essentially at this point, yeah.
He was a stupid character before. Every time he dies, like when he got shot in the head, I was like, sweet. And then he pops back up and was like, ugh, right? Like, go away. You suck. So that's a little lame to me. But the rest of it, I really like. I like them bringing in all of these characters. And as you said, kind of tying stuff up. They're doing stuff early.
Just let you know how much stuff they're actually going to want to tie up, because they are just going to load you in with all this explanation, with all this information. And I didn't realize how much you actually got until part 2. I'm like, oh, Christian wasn't fucking around when saying all ties are going to be like, all things are going to be tied up. No, he means everything. Everything. There's going to be small shit throughout the entire fucking game. Oh, that guy. Oh, this little thing. Oh, that little thing. Oh, this. Half of this pie doesn't even need to be this game. Be honest. Vamp could not have been this entire fucking game. We didn't need him.
Who's the third twin? Do we know?
What, between Solid and Liquid?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always known it's Solidus. He was in the second game.
That's right. He was in the second. Yeah, I was trying to say, we've met him before, and I remember
the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested with Third Son in the third act to learn more about that. Yeah. I would assume. Yeah, it's Kojima being Kojima. It's really good. I don't know where this is falling for me so far. We'll see how it goes. But I'm enjoying.
I need to play it to the end to find out where it falls for me.
Yeah, I know. But I'm enjoying it.
Fucking flip it around, or he could just tank it right at the end. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preston?
That's kind of my thoughts on it. Like, again, I didn't play it, so next week might have a little more input from me. So be ready for that. But yeah, I'm just kind of watching it at this point. I'm like, yep, this looks really great. Yep, they're tying enough knots, and as I thought, there's gonna be a whole lot of horniness with all these beauties and the beasts or whatever. So it's gonna, we're gonna get there.
Yeah,
I did have one question for you guys. Where does Rising fall in the timeline? Does it fall
after this?
Oh, so it actually follows the story. It's not like
Rising is the last game in the series.
And I was actually watching a video that was talking about Metal Gear games that didn't make it, and Rising was supposed to be a filler for what happened to him before this game. But they changed it, and because they couldn't get it going and doing it right, so then they had Platinum take over, and they changed the story up for Rising after that point.
So then
for the better.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Sure. But so for Raiden's case, we just know he is who he is now, and this is how he's gotten here. Like, we don't really find.
Well, yes, but also, like, they didn't need. So there will be extra explanations that they give, but I would say, Alex, to your point about Laughing Octopus, where you were like, you ruined it with extra explanation. You gave me a brief one earlier that I was fine
Sure.
with, and then you ruined it. Same thing happened here. We already know what happened, right? Like,
Mhm.
we know that Raiden went out and was getting his shit rocked all the time, getting in fights, doing these things, just trying to have somebody kill him, and was going back and forth, and then went and had something happen that turned him into what is in now, and
Cyber.
then right, and then from there started doing different missions for people to either like in in one instance find Sunny, right? We know that, and then was doing other missions to pay that person back for helping him find Sunny, right?
Yeah.
So clearly he was indebted to somebody that was doing all these different things. But yeah, so I don't. For me, my biggest thing was I still feel this way. The reveal of his character coming back and then being that and doing that, I was so hyped then, and I am still hyped now.
Very excited.
When I saw him doing all that shit, I was like, God, you're so fucking
want to
cool.
play him. Just want to play his.
I think it hits differently. I agree with you, and I liked it a lot. I loved his scenes. I think the cutscenes there were awesome. It didn't hit as hard as it would have back in the day because I know Rising, and I played like an hour and a half of Rising, right? Like I started
Yeah.
into it. So it does hit different because I know that look.
If you
If
didn't,
it would have been, if I didn't
it
though,
would have been a huge one.
it really would hit.
Rocket
But
ship.
like, but the cutscene stuff were incredible. They were fantastic for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Great choreography again, all around.
Yeah, it's just it's cool.
Same.
Yeah, and he gets some other moments throughout the game that are very cool too. So, but yeah, so we will be just this exact same format. So we're gonna play through Act 3. As soon as you get to the mission briefing scene, stop, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging out with us, everybody. Don't forget to check in on Sunday, where Preston plays his Spoopy Sundays, and then we will be back at you next week with another episode of part 3 of this. So thanks for hanging out. We look forward to it. And with that, Preston, you know what to do.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or to check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. If watching is more your thing, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@thetestingroom, or watch us live on twitch.tv/testingroomlive. To leave comments or ask questions, you can follow us on Instagram @testingroompod, leave a comment on YouTube, or send them in to testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.